This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris. I've got some great side dishes and salads I'd love to share with you. Welcome to On the Side.
Cheese souffle is a classic side dish, but people are really afraid of them. In fact, I was one of them for many years. But then I decided, you know what, I'm going to make them anyway. And whether they rise to be, 10 feet tall or not, they taste delicious. So let me show you how I make mine. Now, you do need to get some kind of baking dish. Now, this is a classic souffle dish. It's round and kind of tall sides. And I'm going to go ahead and butter that on the inside. But you could really use any kind of baking dish that you want. Now, when you butter it, make sure you get the sides and the bottom buttered real well. And then I'm going to put about 2 or 3 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese in the pan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this around almost like I was flouring the inside of a cake pan. And then I'm just going to set this to the side. Now we have to separate some eggs. So we have 4 eggs and we need to separate them into yolks and to whites. And the way I do this is I crack the egg over a small bowl, separate the egg, then put the yolk in one bowl and the white in the other. And the reason I do that is sometimes, like at this very point, the yolk might pop or the shell may collapse and get into the white. And when you're separating eggs out like this, the whites have to be totally free of yolk or they won't whip up nicely. So what we're looking for here at the end is a little bowl that has 4 egg yolks in it and a little bowl that has 4 egg whites in it. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of my ingredients prepared. So I need to measure out 1 cup of milk. I'm using a 1% milk, but you could use whatever you like. And then we need to get 3 tablespoons of flour measured out. And then this is a cup of cheese. Now I'm using 3/4 of a cup of a grated Gruyere cheese and then 1/4 of a cup of Parmesan, but you could use whatever mix you would like. Now we're going to go over to the stove, and in a medium saucepan on medium heat, I'm going to put 5 tablespoons of butter in to melt. And what I'm looking for is for the butter to start to foam like this. And now this next part is going to go quickly. That's why it's important we have all of our ingredients right at hand. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our flour and put it in, and we're going to start whisking this up. And we're going to whisk this for about 2 minutes. And what we're creating here is a roux. It's a mixture of butter and flour, and it's going to be what thickens our sauce. So we're going to cook this for 2 minutes. Now, as this starts to cook, you're going to see that it gets thicker and thicker. And then at one point, after the 2-minute mark, we're going to take our little measuring cup of milk and we're going to slowly start to add that milk in. Now you'll notice as I put the milk in just a little bit at a time, it's really boiling furiously, and I've got to keep whisking because I want this to be a nice smooth sauce. So I just keep dribbling the milk in, keep whisking, and it's just cooking away like mad. Now, once you get all of your milk in, then we're going to go ahead and add our flavorings to this. I'm going to first start by putting a sprinkling in of some kosher salt, then a few cracks of black pepper, and then I have some thyme sprigs, and I want to go ahead and just strip those little leaves off and pop those in there. And every now and then you do want to keep stirring because this is continuing to cook. Then once I get all the thyme in, then I'm just going to want to keep stirring this, and I'm going to stir it for about 2 to 3 minutes until it gets really, really thick. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn my heat down to low, and it's time to start adding our egg yolks. Now when you add the egg yolks, you want to add just one at a time in, and you want to really be whisking fast because we want those eggs to get immediately blended into our sauce. We don't want them to sit on top and kind of cook. So go ahead and whisk those in really well, and then once you see no trace of the egg, then we're going to go ahead and put our cheese in, and then we're going to whisk that up really well. And then once the cheese is totally melted, I'm just going to go ahead and add a sprinkle more of kosher salt. And then we're just going to set this aside to cool. Now you can make this base up to a day in advance and just leave it in the refrigerator until it's time to add it to the egg whites. So speaking of our egg whites, we're going to take our 4 egg whites and put them in the mixer, and we're going to whisk these together. We want them to turn into stiff peaks. So after 3 or 4 minutes, it's going to look like this. They're just going to stick straight up, and that is just what we want. So now we're going to take our cooled base, and I'm just going to kind of whisk it together to kind of pull it back together a little bit. It's cooled down a bit. And I'm going to take a large spatula, and I'm going to spoon about 1/3 of the egg whites out. And I'm just going to mix these really vigorously in the pan like this. What I'm doing is I'm trying to lighten that cheese base because it's too thick for me to add just all of the egg whites at once. So once I've lightened the base, then I can go ahead and put the rest of the egg whites in. But instead of mixing these up vigorously, I'm going to fold them. And let me show you how we go about doing that. Now, when you fold, you start in the center and you kind of flip your spatula over and you let the egg whites kind of fall on top of themselves. You do it very gently. You do it kind of slowly like this. But the reason we're doing it at all is because we don't want those egg whites to deflate. And we just keep folding and folding until most of the egg white has dissipated and we don't see it anymore. Then we're going to take this mixture and put it right into our buttered dish. And I just kind of do a very light spreading on top. I don't want to crush those egg whites. And this is going to go into the oven. Now, I had it preheated at 400, but as soon as I put the souffle in, I turn it down to 375, and I let this bake for 30 minutes. Now, when this comes out, it's going to be as inflated as it's going to be, but the moment it hits the air, it's going to start shrinking down. That's why I think it's silly for us to strive for one of these mile-high souffles when, unless you have everyone gathered in the kitchen, they're never going to see it quite that tall. And then the moment you put a spoon in to spoon it out onto someone's plate, it's going to totally deflate. But you know, the thing that's really going to be amazing is the flavor. This cheese souffle has amazing flavor. Now, before I let you go, let me remind you that I've been nominated for a Tasty Award honoring the best in food and fashion programming. And I've been nominated for Best Home Chef in a series for my Farmers Market Gourmet show. Now, this is a Viewer's Choice Award, so if you'd like to vote, just go to our website and click on the Tasty Awards icon. It'll take you right to the voting page. And voting does end January 5th. You know, I'm really going to encourage you to try making a cheese souffle at home. I think that this dish has been given a bad reputation as being really difficult to make, and if it doesn't measure up to a particular standard, it's not worthy. Well, in my mind, it doesn't really matter how tall the cheese souffle is, as long as it tastes good and as long as your friends and family enjoy it with you.
If you'd like to get any of the recipes for any of these great side dishes or salads, go to our website at www.harwoodpodcast.com. Also, if you've got any questions or ideas for me, send me an email. I'll see you next time.